Play out and happen in your country. I think of the Americans watching this, Westerners, we could learn a lot by comparing what's happened in what are ostensibly two very different cultures, and one all about family law, men's issues, those sort of things. So how did you get from a country where divorce was almost non-existent to 35% in some areas?
Came to ICMI, the first ICMI we had at Chicago and the Veterans Place. And the second one?
Yes.
Second one in Excel London, where Philip Davis had come. It in USA, and then I tried to implement in New Delhi during a parliamentary session. Strangely, I found that I could walk into a member of parliament's house and he opens the door and he says, come in and sit here and have some cookies and coffee, and he talks to me. I mean, that was strange. And whereas I was told in Washington, D.C. that if you want to meet a senator, you have to, book a yacht.
Your Chief Justice that you brought up a few minutes ago, wasn't he the same one that said marriage doesn't mean that a man owns his wife's sexuality and that it's none of his business if she sleeps with other men? It's been going on in India with the men's rights activism.
And this is the Elon Musk, he gave us a lease of life, to really Twitter and free speech. And without that, I think we would not have achieved any. One of our prominent men's activists in Bangalore, his name is Atul Subhash. We have 600 members right now in our support group. But this guy was very close to me and Kati, and he was not depressed at all. Right? But he had to take 2 or 3 flights and train or cabs to reach to the place where he had the litigations going on. And in India, you have multiple cases, right? False cases happen. That stuff. So he had 120 court hearings in last 2-3 years. And the kind of harassment that he faced, he committed.
It's literally insane with gender bias.
And gynocentrism.
Yes, especially gynocentrism. India, United States, UK, all of Europe, anywhere you go, the divorce laws are horribly stacked against men. It is a horrible contract to enter into. Nobody, if you sat down and look objectively at the marriage contract and what it means in the societies in which we live.
Hi, Paul. How are you doing?
I'm good, Anil. Good to see you.
Yes. Since a long time we have spoken, even though we were exchanging emails. Yeah, it's nice to see you.
Last time I saw you was here in Roanoke in October of 22.
Yes, October 22. And we had a great time in those mountains. And it was awesome with the picnic and the barbecue and all that in the national park and all that. And the long drives. That was really great.
And the fellowship. It was an amazing time for me too. I really enjoyed that. So here we are in a different world. It seems like the world is a different place since the last time I talked to you.
Yes, the lot has happened in USA. A lot has happened in India. The elections happened in India. Then the elections happened in USA. In India, the elections happened in May, June during that time. And the election results were a bit of a surprise. In US, of course, we guys knew that Trump will win. To a great extent, we knew. And towards the end, we knew that it can be a big majority because the way Kamala was losing out. So I think a lot of things happened in last 1.5 years.
Oh, absolutely. I knew that Trump was going to win too. I didn't know it for sure, but when I saw Tampon Tim doing that thing with the shotgun that he couldn't load with cameras there, trying to appeal to men, I thought it's over. The election's over right there. There's no way we're losing this thing.
In fact, I was thinking that maybe Minnesota and Virginia will also flip. I was thinking that way, but it didn't happen. But I was thinking at one point of time during the election results that it may flip.
And it was actually we got within 5%. So, I mean, for Virginia, that's pretty good. He made a lot of inroads here in a lot of different populations. I think the win was honestly much bigger than it looks like electorally and in the popular vote. And I think that's evidenced by you see the way Trump is already in power on the world stage. I mean, instantly, we're so ready for some adult to be in the room and to be running the country. And I tell you, and it says a lot that America looked at Donald Trump, the most vilified politician in American history, and said, that's the adult in the room. It was a great day for us.
And it was also shocking for everyone in the world that there are so many assassination attempts. And it was just a miracle that he survived that one in Pennsylvania.
I think it's a miracle he survived his own Secret Service protection. Yes. The level of incompetence in that and neglect looked like it was intentional to me. I don't see how you could interpret it as otherwise.
And the amount of media meltdown and the crying and talking about moving to Canada or to Scotland or somewhere.
Well, I got to admit, that's entertaining for me. I'm enjoying the liberal tears. It's been 4 years of hell looking at what was being done to my country and what is happening in the world with wars and everything on fire, the craziness. And I finally feel like I can breathe a sigh of relief.
Yeah, I think that particular cup, I drink feminist tears, that t-shirt. Remember 10 years back? I am forgetting her name. I drink male tears. That's the t-shirt she wore, right?
Oh, yeah, that was Jessica Valenti, wasn't it?
Yeah, Jessica Valenti. Yes, Jessica Valenti. Yes. I drink male tears.
Oh,
and you had so many t-shirts. Boys are stupid, throw rocks at them.
You're giving your age away, Anil.
I know. I often say that I'm more than 50 years old, and I keep saying. In fact, in the Pearl Davis podcast, I told her, listen. She was talking about the divorce statistics, and she was saying maybe the divorce rate is very low in India because it's not easy to get divorced, and it's a very conservative country. Then I told her, Pearl, first 30 years of life, I only knew 2 people who were divorced. Only 2 people for first 30 years of life till maybe 2001. And then after that, I found that divorces in certain families or certain regions of the country can be as high as 35%.
In areas in India now?
Yes.
Wow, that's shocking. I didn't even know that.
So because the government was not really coming up with, so I gave the people a simple formula because it's a moving target. It's changing. So I gave them a simple formula. You go to your college or university class and you have 200 classmates. You find out after 10 or 15 years how many of them have got divorced. Out of 200, you find your own statistics. You go to your cousins and on both sides of your parents, you add them everybody and find out how many have got divorced and how many are married. You find that ratio. That is your personal, divorce rate that you know in your circumstances. And that's a very easy way to assess what is going on. And in my school, I can say 3 out of 42, which is 7%. And my school is a small place.
What has happened? Why was your life this way for so long, and then suddenly it all falls apart in terms of marriage and families? How did you see that play out and happen in your country? I think of the Americans watching this, Westerners, we could learn a lot by comparing what's happened in what are ostensibly 2 very different cultures in one way, yet we have a common thread between us that is glaring. And it's all about family law, men's issues, those sort of things. So how did you get from a country where divorce was almost non-existent to 35% in some areas?
Well, the cultures are not isolated. They flow across the borders, across the social media, across political circles. And if you can see, like the White House celebrates Indian festivals like Diwali, the festival of light, right? It was unimaginable maybe 40 years back, and the other way around, we celebrate Halloween. In my apartment building in Bangalore, our children have started celebrating Halloween since last 5-6 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is all, it's all melting and merging and all. And all that is, and Dua Lipa, the singer, was in Mumbai just recently, and she had 20,000 people crowd, right?
Yes.
And Coldplay is coming to India now, couple of places, and there are huge rush and tickets were sold out. So Dua Lipa's tickets were sold out within 5 minutes of they being released. Then the organizers increased the rate, they released another bunch of tickets. So it's like they are in huge demand. So the cultures are all merging and changing, and it's like waves. They are all connecting, and it is it also becomes uncomfortable sometimes. Like in many places, you see the immigrants, I'm talking about legal immigrants. The cultures change, the festivals change. I used to enjoy the Christmas markets in Europe, by the way. Germany and all these places. This time they have a Christmas market. They call it the Weihnachten. Weihnachten is the Christmas. Weihnachten markets, they were very awesome, and very small stalls they have in the snow. They are awesome in Europe, actually. They have that culture of Christmas markets and all. So I used to really, really enjoy when I was in Germany more than 20 years back. So there is something strange really happening now, that everything. So we are getting impacted from different cultures. Yeah. So the Western culture has come up and our culture is going around. And, so many Russians have been converted into Hinduism, which is surprising. Hinduism is not a basically conversion-based organization, religion. They don't convert generally, but still, something is going on, happening and all that. And it's very surprising.
Do you think you're importing the wrong Western values?
Yes, yes. That's an awesome point, Paul, because, when I came to ICMI, the first ICMI, we
Yeah.
had at Chicago and the Veterans
That
Place.
that
And
was
the
yes.
second one in Excel London, where Philip Davis had come,
Right.
to give the talk. And what was unique for me was that everything was in time, and we have those 15 minutes breaks between each of the talks in the
Right.
conferences, and then sharp you start the session, right?
Right.
This is something unusual for Indians. We guys
Okay.
always miss the time. Maybe the conference is running late by 1 hour or 2 hours. But when I started organizing the national conferences and all, and before ICMI, we had a conference. I said, listen, guys, we have every session begin at sharp within 5 seconds of the time that we have decided, no matter what. So we learned that lesson from you and from UK. We learned that. We took that. And this is not natural for Indians,
Okay.
right? So that is very unique. And please, yes. The other point was surprising for me, and this is a very unique experience when I was in London 2016, and there was a keynote in the beginning, I think by Mike, and then the Philip Davis was the third speaker or something, and we have the 15 minutes break, and I'm sitting on the right side aisle, on the right side.
Yes.
Then I'm like, okay, Philip Davis will be around, and I saw a man, short man, sitting there on a chair, and he's looking into a file. I'm like, is he Philip Davis? If he's Philip Davis, nobody is giving him any attention. He's just on his own. How can it be possible that the MP is not getting any attention? Yeah. And then he gave the talk, and he is Philip Davis. In India, if the member of parliament comes over there and sits like that, he would be mobbed. People will go and take selfies, and they will handshake. They will say great things about you. This is a very, contact-based culture.
Right.
We hug each other, and you see the Modi guy, our prime minister, he goes and he hugs Putin or he hugs Trump.
Yeah.
We are very much, like warm, friendly and warm. But there is a certain amount of discretion and reserved stuff that we saw in UK, especially. The men can be a bit shy, in communicating. Yeah.
I think in the West we tend to more see our politicians as inaccessible. Like we're supposed to stand off from them and not crowd their space. I think, I saw the same thing. We had the first ICMI, we had a senator from Canada.
Senator Ann Coles. Yeah. Ann Coles.
And people were not surrounding her. They were leaving her to her own people, her own entourage. And I think that's just sort of, I don't want to call it respect. I think that it's sort of people feel removed from our politicians in the West. Very removed, very distant. And of course, we've been living under governance the past several years that has made it obvious that it does not care about the people whatsoever. Who live here. And so that's probably even aggravated it more of late.
Yes, here in India, because I learned lobbying in USA, not in India. So I learned it in USA, and then I tried to implement in New Delhi during a parliamentary session. Strangely, I found that I could walk into a member of parliament's house, and he opens the door and he says, come in and sit here and have some cookies and coffee. And he talks to me. That was strange. And whereas I was told in Washington, D.C., that if you want to meet a senator, you have to, book a yacht. You have to book a yacht. I'm like, what the hell?
That's that inaccessibility part I was telling you about.
And, in 2020, I went to meet the members of parliament, and they were in a big apartment, and one apartment I knocked, it's a female MP. She opened the door and she had wet hair, and she had covered her hair because she came from the shower and opened the door. I'm like, wow. You can be so informal in connecting with the people, and I really started respecting Indian politicians due to this region. And I said, I will blame the media, I will blame the judiciary, I may even blame academia, but Indian politicians are awesome, in spite of what all people say about them.
Okay, that's good to know. There's certainly a lot of criticism coming their way. And the judiciary is a different story. Your Chief Justice that you brought up a few minutes ago, wasn't he the same one that said marriage doesn't mean that a man owns his wife's sexuality and that it's none of his business if she sleeps with other men? Yeah.
He said that. His name is Chandrachud, Justice Chandrachud, and he's a Harvard PhD. He has a PhD in Harvard. So maybe maybe Obama was his junior in Harvard. So this guy got a PhD, and after a couple of years, Obama joined Harvard as a law student. So this guy has a PhD in Harvard. You know why? Because this guy's father was the Chief Justice of India for 7 years. So if the father becomes the Chief Justice and the son becomes the Chief Justice and then grandson. So in India, we have kind of a family, clans. The family clan. It's
That's
like the
a
Italian.
pretty dangerous way to approach doing judicial life, isn't it?
It's like the Florence, those Medici family, and the
Yeah,
Medici family people became the Pope. So it is something similar going on with our top judiciary. Your uncle was a judge, and then you are a judge, and maybe your son-in-law will be a judge. It's like a family-owned, you
that's
know, a banking system or something. Like they used to have a banking system, and here it's like a legal system.
well, but look at it this way: the Western judiciary is just as corrupt, even though they operate on a different model. They're every bit as corrupt.
Yes, yes. I think the way Donald Trump was convicted and the way a judge can be elected, what I guess in USA, and that can be politicized, and there are lobbies can work. I'm like I often wonder what is happening to democracies. That's the sad part.
Oh, well, they're vulnerable to enough people making the wrong kind of pushes for changes, especially from the left. Democracy has to be rigidly defended over a long period of time. And then eventually, I believe it'll go away. I just think it's the lust for control is part of the human animal, and we're going to be dealing with that forever.
So this particular judge, Chandrachud, he retired just recently, 9th November. He said, Constitution is a feminist document. He said that for Indian Constitution.
Wow.
And he said a man is not owner of his wife's sexuality, which in a way implied that a woman is also not owner of husband's sexuality.
Of
And
course.
he inaugurated a gender-neutral bathroom, toilet in the Supreme Court complex. And he had he encouraged a public interest petition in the Supreme Court about same-sex marriages also. And he did all that stuff. In fact, he was saying during his last days of his tenure, what kind of legacy I will leave. So he was thinking about legacy. While our Supreme Court has 50 million pending court cases, it will take a couple of 100 years to clear them off. Do you see the disconnect?
Yes, it's glaring. What has been going on in recent days, let's say since we last talked, what's been going on in India with the men's rights activism? What's been happening there? And the difference with the American election? Was there a change in mood or
Yes. I think the major change for Indian men's rights activism, the decade of 2011 to 2021, that decade we lost. That decade, that 10-year decade we lost. And after 2021, after COVID, we started recovering. And it is mostly because of one person, Paul. That person is Elon Musk.
Yep.
The way we were cancelled and we were being stifled in all the platforms, we were losing our IDs in everywhere. All of us were completely getting hounded by, and it was an unanticipated attack. We never thought that, this is an unknown tech giants basically using their money and the tech and AI to basically deplatform us from every single forum, maybe even a credit card or a crowdfunding. Everywhere they were trying to isolate us, and then it is the Elon Musk. He gave us a lease of life, to really Twitter and free speech. And without that, I think I think we would not have achieved anything. I mean, it is he who contributed to. He made all that difference.
Absolutely, and I'm very familiar with that theme. I know that in 2009, 2010, and 11, AVFM was one of the top 30,000 websites in the world. We were getting 500,000 unique visitors a month, and Google just choked us off completely.
Yes.
And we've all been in a kind of censored jail for the past, I think, several years, actually.
Yes.
And Elon Musk changed the calculus on that forever. I mean, I think when we look back at this period in American history, we'll recognize the importance of Trump's reelection, and there'll be a lot written on that. But Elon Musk's role in preserving the republic is hard to overstate. I don't think most people get how important what he did was by buying Twitter and opening up the platform to free speech.
That's why in 2023, last year in March, we did a skit. We had a hunger strike protest going on at Bangalore Freedom Park. The Freedom Park was originally a prison, so they dismantled the prison and they called it the Freedom Park. They converted the prison into a park. Bangalore is a very artistic place and people with all creativity and idea, and they thrive. It's not like a completely a liberal woke stuff, but it is a very open culture. And people in the south part of the state called Karnataka, they are very polite. They are the politest people, and not rude at all. And they are so much open, into every topic to be too open. So that jail was converted into that prison was converted into a park or a protest venue. And in that freedom park we had a tent, and we had been having a hunger strike today. In fact, I myself was for hunger strike with the theme men's lives matter. And then in the second day we did a small 10-minute skit where we took Elon Musk. We call him the god of free speech, the saint of free speech. And in our culture, you can worship a guru, you can worship a saint, you can worship a tree, you can worship something, about which you are grateful. So we called him the god of free speech, and we used English and the ancient Sanskrit. So imagine, it is like Enigma, you bring in English, you add the Latin, you merge them together, you see that language. So we use ancient Sanskrit and English together, and we chanted about, saluted Elon Musk as the god of free speech, and he's the emperor of free speech and emperor of Twitter, and he's the destroyer of. So we salute the destroyer of woke demon. That is what we chanted, and we said, you are the cleaner of feminists. And then it went viral, 300 newspaper articles, and that video went viral, and some of the Elon Musk fan club shared it, and it had 2 million views.
I saw that online. I didn't know about all the details behind it, but I did see pictures of that on X. That was brilliant. Was that your idea?
Yeah, no, it was my idea, but we guys have got a man called Star Father fighting for his kid. This guy, we call him the chief priest of our, our invocation and chanting. So we worship. So first, so he generally conducts these skits, and he was like somebody possessed by that energy, spiritual energy. So he was shaking like this, and he was chanting for Elon Musk, and people went around and they prayed to Elon Musk for blessings and said, "You are great, Elon Musk." And now here is the beautiful part. Many people interpreted it as if, we want some donation from Elon Musk, or maybe we went crazy. And some Islamists, they said, "Listen, there is only one Allah. These guys are worshipping Elon Musk. Come on, it is just a drama." Even they had a meltdown, saying, "How dare they worship a mere human being? Come on, this is just a drama."
Just kidding. Well, that's the way people react these days.
So the sad part of the story in last 10 days is one of our prominent men's activists in Bangalore. His name is Atul Subhash. He's around 34 years old guy. And, we have 600 members right now in our support group. But this guy was very close to me and Kati, and very nice guy. And he was an AI expert, and he got couple of promotions very fast. And his salary, can you imagine, his salary was most probably more than $12,000 per month in India. Can you believe that?
Yes.
And a 34-year-old guy. Okay. And the kind of harassment that he faced, he committed suicide. But the strange part of the story here, in fact, I had stayed in his house many times, because that's on the other part of Bangalore. So if I go there, I don't book a hotel and I don't return. I stay a day. Then I used to stay with him, and we used to watch some movies. Just remember, I stayed in your house with you and Stacy in Houston for those 3 days. Yes. And and then I repaired your TV, the audio system, the Bose audio system. Remember?
Yes, I do.
And then the optical fiber and all we did, and you got some prawns and you baked them. And, so that it was like that, sharing that space and all that. So that same experience I had with him, and I never thought he will commit. So because this guy is a very practical guy, very cool guy, and he's not the kind of guy, he was not depressed at all. But he had to take 2 or 3 flights and train or cabs to reach to the place where he had the litigations going on. And in India, you have multiple cases, right? False cases happen. That stuff. So he had 120 court hearings in last 2-3 years.
Yes, in a city 2,000 kilometers away, right?
Yes. And it's a small city, so you don't just fly, It's right. Delhi, you can fly in 3 hours. So here you take like 15 hours to reach there, and then he goes there to attend the hearing, and the system is so corrupt or so much feudal, the lawyers are on a strike. Or some former lawyer or a former judge died, and they are mourning for 3 days, and they are not working in the court, right? And then he loses the time, and this is what he was experiencing. And the whole problem was that Indian alimony laws are completely crazy. They, first of all, we don't have durational alimony. If your marriage is short, the spousal support can be durational, right? It can be shorter duration. If somebody is married for 6 months, either he doesn't get the spousal support, or it will be maybe for a couple of months, right? That's what happens in USA. But in India, if somebody is married for 3 months, you have to pay spousal support, which can be around 20% or so for entire life until she gets a job or until she gets married. Now she can stay with a boyfriend and take 20% of your salary as spousal support. I'm not talking about child support.
Right. Yeah, I know. I tell Western men all the time. I mean, it's bad here, but India is literally insane with gender bias.
And gynocentrism.
Yes, especially gynocentrism.
And 50% guys facing these cases in multiple courts, they lose their job. So if it is 100,000 people facing the case or 200,000, so half of them, 50,000 people will be losing their job immediately or maybe in 1 or 2 years. And Atul Subhash was diabetic. Can you imagine that? Like 32, 33 years old guy, and he's diabetic. And diabetic is like a slow killer. You have to be so careful about keeping that thing there and all. And he was also, he was working for a top company, top level Indian company. It's a huge company, and these companies can fire you. Meta fired 20,000, 10,000 people, or many American companies fired. Same way here. You can be fired. Now, if you are fired and you are not getting a job, then you have a alimony liability of $30,000 in India in 1 year. He was staring at that. This story is similar to Mel Gibson and Robin Williams' story.
Yeah, very.
It's the alimony destroyed these men, and Robin Williams committed suicide.
And he had fought the good fight for 2 years. He did it. Did he show any signs to anybody of what he was fighting?
No. He did not show anything, and he made a 81 minutes video, and he uploaded it to Rumble, not in YouTube. Rumble. And then half an hour before committing suicide, he sent 2 tweets to Elon Musk and Donald Trump. He said, "Save India from woke ideologies, DEI, abortions." He wrote that in Twitter and Rumble. He put the video in the Rumble. He said, he tweeted, "You are reading the tweet of a dead man." And he was talking that video. He talks in Hindi, but we will get the English subtitles. He is talking as if he's a podcaster talk, without an iota of sorrow or emotion. In fact, he may be feeling very elated. And he created a folder on 31st October where he had structured all the documents accusing different people and organizations and the judicial ecosystem. He had created all the stuff in a systematic way, and he wrote a letter to President of India, because the President of India is the only person he trusted, and it's a lady, and she's a tribal lady, from my state, by the way. She speaks my language of my state of Odisha. So she's the president. So he wrote an email to her with a copy to many of the guys, men's activists. And then he left that link to that Google folder in public domain. And he wrote a 24-page suicide note, 24-page. A depressed man can't write in a coherent way.
No, that isn't. And, this is frequently the case with men who kill themselves. They're not clinically depressed. They are happy at the end because they know that they're going to stop the pain. I look at this, he really didn't so much commit suicide. He was murdered by the
by the system,
and they just turned him into the murder weapon.
Yes, and he also kept notes in his room, like D-Day, 10 days before what he should do. What he should do the day and minus 10 days, 9 days. He has written all the schedules in a systematic. He even wrote up to the extent of you chant some mantra for 100 times, you drink water. He has written all the instructions. You keep the car here and keep the car key in the refrigerator. And so he had written all the instructions. He had prepared his will, and he kept everything in a systematic way. And any forensic or any psychiatrist, psychologist, they can assess all these documents, and they can find that he was not depressed.
That's totally believable.
The depression can be the symptoms, not the root. I was telling to people, you are in the middle of a riot, somebody is attacking you, and you feel depressed. Now you can't give that person any medication to cure the depression, because the root of the problem is the riots.
I just wanted to inform that lady, as being arrested.
Wow, she has been arrested by the Bangalore police. That's awesome news. But to let the judicial processes take their course. We want that to happen. We may talk some other time in detail about what happens if a person commits suicide. We have a law in India called abatement to suicide, which is gender neutral. So if once a person's actions lead to somebody else committing suicide, it can be the spouse, or it can be the child, or it can be the work colleague, junior colleague, and you have harassed the person and the person committed suicide, and before suicide there's a suicide note or something. So abatement to suicide law can be invoked, and it has a sentence of 2 or 3 years or something like that, and all that. So this can be invoked. However, often the courts apply it in a lopsided way. They applied it if the girlfriend commits suicide and blames her boyfriend. So they will generally apply it more on men, and then they are lenient to women. However, in this particular case, there is so much of outrage. Print media, national media, top national media of India, like the CNN's partner in India called CNN 18. And then there is India Today, the Times Now, the Republic TV. These are all huge TV channels, and some of these TV channels are owned by billionaires. Adani is a big-time billionaire, and he is close to Modi, by the way. Okay, as a rich guy. So of course, he's not like Elon Musk. He's much more private. So these corporate media has picked it up.
Are you hopeful that there may be some change come out of this?
Unfortunately, no, Paul. I have said in media that the system, the judicial ecosystem, which includes the lawyer lobbies and the judges and the staff and all the judicial, and then there are lawyers, prominent lawyers, who are part of the political establishment. Lawyers can be politicians easily. Right. So maybe 30-40% of our politicians are coming from the judicial ecosystem. Just like what happened in USA, the establishment. We have an establishment which is centered around the judiciary and the lawyers. These people believe that they are like some Saudi prince, or they are like part of some massive royal family with constitutional power, with special power. So bar councils and all, they have special laws which govern the bar councils and the lawyers and all. They get certain immunities and all that. And then the courts, top courts have a lot of constitutional powers, right? In any democracy. Unfortunately, these constitutional powers are being misused, and then tyranny. The judiciary is unleashing tyranny in India.
I'm learning a lot tonight. This is
and here is the bad part, Paul. Our constitution has a preamble. It's like a 4-5 line preamble about fairness, fraternity, and all that. Equity and all that. They are not following it, and they are not following the key constitution. Like you say, the First Amendment and Second Amendment, you say, we call them Constitution Article 14, Constitution Article 15, Constitution Article 21. Okay. Now, Constitution Article 21 is all about life and liberty and the right to work. And when you have a false case, or you are running around courts in 6 courts over a period of 6 courts, and in a year you have 40 dates, court hearings you have to go, then your right to work is taken away. You may not get the passport renewed. If you are an expat in USA, like you are an Indian origin man working in San Francisco or in New Jersey, but you are married to an Indian woman, then you have to attend these court dates by flying to India.
Wow.
And it may happen that the Indian courts declare you as a proclaimed offender. Paul, we SIFF is like an institution now. And we are saying that we will have a campus around Bangalore, 10-acre campus, in 3 years' time. And we have an entire department right now to deal with Indian expats who are in UK, USA, Canada, Australia, to protect them from these fake proclaimed offender, tags. So we tell, because if he lands in an Indian airport, his passport is taken away and he's thrown in prison, and he can't go back to USA to work.
Oh man, that's crazy.
And many of these guys have not visited India for 7-8 years, and their parents are here, because if they land here, they don't know a police department of a city. They may have falsely made, this is called lookout circulars. By the way, Interpol categorically refused 15 years back. Interpol said, no way. We are not going to touch this. What the hell you are doing in India? We are not going to be a party of this. Whatever you are talking about, there are no equivalent laws in our country. You are running something on your own, crazy. Interpol said, we won't catch any one of you. You call him a proclaimed offender or a fugitive. We won't be doing anything. Interpol washed its hands off. Now these guys are, it's like you land in India, they will arrest you because, they have declared you like that. And, here is one more thing, Paul, interesting thing. The Indians, USA right now has maybe, I can say 5 to 6 million Indians, people of Indian origin. Okay. They are not huge block, but they are they are the highest earning block, right? Because it's not that Indians are more talented or more IQ. It is just that the best people of India, they immigrate to USA. Okay, in a way we say that is good because at least they are contributing to the world, because here you don't know what will happen. Now these Indians working in the Gulf, like Dubai is built by Indians. Do you know that Dubai was built by Indians?
Right.
Now these people, they send $100 billion of foreign exchange every year to India, and that is what is helping our economy. In 1989, India defaulted. India was like Argentina or Greece. It defaulted. So India is now a thriving economy because these guys. And you know what? There are no special courts created for the foreign Indians who stay in foreign countries. There are no special courts. There are no special benches. Like, if you are working in a foreign country, we will give you a fast track, or we have a special bench. You go to that window, so that they have to come and stand in the same queue, and they have to face the same stuff like the strike, or you are mourning about somebody passing away. And the US and Canada, they have given travel advisory to people of Indian origin with those passports. They have given travel advisories.
Wow.
So the Indian Supreme Court is not following Article 21 of Constitution about life and liberty and right to work. Today we had a young woman, she's in early 20s. She can't get a passport because her brother and she are accused. And she is from a top institute called IIT and Indian Institute of Management, Indian Institute of Technology. She has a master's. She has a master's in business. She's from a B school. She's in early 20s. She's not getting her passport because she's accused, and she can't travel to a foreign country for work or for whatever.
That is horrible.
And this prompted Atul Subhash to commit suicide, because if he loses his job, the judge won't reduce the alimony liability. The judge will say you have deliberately lost your job, or you have deliberately reduced your salary to evade.
So there was no way for him to win in this. It was just over for him.
Yeah, the problem was he had not submitted his bank statements, his income details to the court. Neither did his wife. His wife works for Accenture, by the way. The American company Accenture.
Yes.
And Accenture faced a huge backlash in India, so they had to lock their Twitter account. And the Accenture CEO had to lock her global account. Her name is Julie Sweet. She had to account. I won't blame Accenture, because she's Accenture employee. This anger is misdirected towards Accenture, but this is what happened. People were so angry. And with so much of media, there was so much of outrage.
Well, I'm certainly sorry for your loss, because I know he wasn't just another advocate. He was your friend.
He attended ICMI Pune. He was there very much active, almost like a volunteer. And he was with Guy Gaskin and we all guys in many pictures. She's very close. Remember you remember Earl Silverman, right?
Yes, of course.
Remember?
Yes.
Right. And you remember Mark Angelucci, right? How can we forget?
Oh, no.
What Mark is.
Mark is sorely missed. All these guys are. They were important men, and they were taken way too early, all of them. But that is the lot of men, and it's why we do what we do.
And the sad part is that a section of young feminists, the university feminists, they suddenly had a meltdown with this backlash. They are like, how can the media hound a woman? Come on, this woman was demanding $120,000 to $200,000 as one-time alimony settlement in India. She has asked that kind of a money. She asked $40,000 so that Atul can meet his child. She said, "Give me $40,000 or so that I can allow you to meet your son." That's what he has written in the suicide.
And nothing will happen to her.
We know she may go to prison only for 10 days and she will be getting a bail or something like that. And we know nothing will happen to her. Yeah. And the feminists had a meltdown, huge meltdown, and they started calling him Baldi, and they started calling him names. And then there are certain lawyers, they started, what about me? What about women? What about women being burnt? Which is basically a fake news,
Sure.
Women being burnt for dowry is a fake, we had that article in AVFM 10, 12 years back.
Absolutely. No, it's all a racket.
Paul, I think we have another 5 minutes or so. Just have a look at the time. I think 5 or 10 minutes.
I could go about another 5. It's a little tight for me right now.
I understand.
But I can go another 5 for sure.
Yes. So in the talk with Pearl Davis, I also talked the same way, in what way our system and the American system is different. And one fundamental difference in the constitution of USA and India, there's a fundamental difference. In US, you can't do gender discrimination. You can't have ladies' night. The men only draft was questioned by Mark Angelucci and others for so many years based on that constitutional protection of, article on gender equality. Whereas India has a constitution article called Article 15, And then Article 15.1, Article 15.2, 15.3, 15.4, which says, because it's a socialist country, right? It declares itself. So it says that government can make any number of policies or laws or whatever policies, affirmative action for women and children. Women and children are clubbed together and government can make any number of policies. So they make women only universities. They give freebies only to women and you can't sue them. Like what NCFM does often in San Diego and California. We can do that because it is in the Constitution. But we are saying this constitutional article, can one constitutional article violate the other article? It should not, right?
It's a good question. But I mean, it's so alien to me to even consider a government where discrimination is enshrined that way, that we could do these special programs and special rights and considerations. And of course, absolutely nothing for the men that build and maintain your nation. It's absolutely mind-blowing.
And these special rights and considerations, they override, the right to equality, right to life, right to liberty, right to work. How can you override? It's like a dictatorship, and it is a violation of, you have taken an oath on the Constitution, the judiciary, and after taking the oath, how can you violate it? And Paul, I told in the media, it's okay, laws are misused. If okay, there are false cases, it's okay. But we have a special law. They say if somebody files a false case, they can be punished for 3 years of punishment. But the Supreme Court is deliberately not allowing that law and those proceedings under those laws to start. So the judges are not following the law.
When the judges don't follow the law, your country is screwed.
That's the statement. That's the statement out of this whole 45 minutes. If judges are not following the law, your country is doomed. Your country is screwed. We will make it a court. We have to make it a court.
We've had a taste of that recently in the United States with some of these crazy prosecutions against Trump, where judges are totally ignoring the law. They're doing obviously criminal things right out in the open by ignoring their duties, ignoring their allegiance to the Constitution. And what is the outcome? Just grave injustice. I mean, Donald Trump is a unique individual. He's like a tank that can't be beat. But almost any average man would have been grounded under the boot heel of the judges and would have gone the way of our dear departed friend. A lot of men.
Paul, I have a question. Are you considering traveling to Sydney for International Conference on Men's Issues 2025?
All health concerns in my home, I have some of those, but all of the things being equal, if there's any way possible, I'm going to make it.
Yeah, I remember talking to you about the travels and the limitation, because often the domestic flights sometimes have a problem of sitting. You may not get those seats and all that kind of things. I have kept that in mind, and I hope in private we'll talk about maybe in future potential travel of yours to India. And if it's talking about India, I won't recommend you to go to Delhi. You only come to Bangalore and return back. Bangalore is it's like an incubator, very good weather and nice people, and it's not like a crazy place. It can never be a crazy place.
I don't mind a little rough weather. I mean, I would like to see anything that India is a bucket list item for me. If I can make that happen before I depart this earth, I really want to. It would be wonderful.
And in $80, one can get a 5-year visa, and one can come at any time. And that is what Guy and other people have. So we have all that stuff ready. And if you want to cook some food, we have a service apartment. You have the departmental stores, and you can have a driver with a cab or something, because in India it all is work, so it all can work. Yeah. So we'll see.
You're trying to entice me there with the food, and it'll work.
No, I know that, but again, I'm concerned about you and Stacy also. Like, you are in 60s and you need to take care of a lot of things about the health and life. Somehow life. When we were interacting, maybe in early 2000s, you were in 50s, right?
Yes, literally. And now I'm pushing 70. So
wow, time flows. And Mike Buchanan was also 52, 53 in 2005 or 2007 in Men's News, mensactivism.org, Men's News Daily, and we all used to interact and all, but then the time has passed, and we do have to take care. And Mike was telling me about some of his plans about he was in Mauritius and all, and so we will have to discuss something about that part, because I am now in early 50s, so I came to that age where you were 15 years back. I mean, this is a different phase of life. We have to really discuss that.
Yes, we do, but we're not dead yet. We can make things happen.
Great, Paul. So thank you, Paul, for your time.
It was really enjoyable. Great to see you. Feng Yuan, very nice to meet you. And thank you so much for
that. Sir, if I could, I think it is echoing a little bit. I would ask through a different device. Sir, if I could ask regarding
You may speak slowly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sir, if I could ask regarding the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness for men, what would be your imparting wisdom to the younglings to live a better life despite all the adversities in their path?
Paul, you are muted.
I'm sure that's
Paul. Yeah.
Sorry about that. No, I tell young men the same thing all the time. Or sort of two different things. One, primarily first, is to find out what your values are and live by them, regardless of what anybody in the world thinks. Find your own values and live by them. And the second thing I tell them is to not marry. I hate to do that. I really do. It would be lovely to tell men to start a family and to look at building the generations of their lives. I would love to tell young men to be able to do that. But we just got through talking about a man who killed himself, and he's not the only one. There are countless men across the world, in India, United States, UK, all of Europe, anywhere you go. The divorce laws are horribly stacked against men. It is a horrible contract to enter into. Nobody, if you sat down and look objectively at the marriage contract and what it means in the societies in which we live, it's an absolutely brain dead thing to do. Nobody with any sense would do it if they just sat and looked at it objectively. And, I can tell young men to live by their values all they want, but none of that'll matter if they're in a family court. And so that's it, man. Enjoy your lives. Don't let anybody tell you that you have to live your life in service to anybody, to women, to anything. Explore yourself and enjoy, but don't get married.
Thank you, Paul. These are great words.
It's been wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Take care, brothers.
Thank you.